Alright, well welcome to day 4 of Drawing Boot Camp. Today we're going to basically take what we've known and done already, and we're going to do some little bitty changes, not some extreme changes. We're going to reinforce some things and we're going to alter some things. So first thing I want to do is I want to get that border. Alright, always important. Notice the more that I do this, I'm skinny on this side, and I get, heavier, bigger lines on that side. So I'm going to scoot that over a little bit. Now, first order of business, horizon line. Now, up until this point, most of our horizon line, top third, been straight across. All right, this one we are going to still stay in the top third, but we're going to slant. All right, we're going to change this to where it looks like a V. Alright, or upside down V. Alright, we may even throw in a vertical line here just to have the extra support. Now we'll probably more likely turn that into shadow, but for right now it's good to have that compositional technique. Now let's, as we've done in the past, let's show you where this drawing is heading. Alright, so you can kind of get an idea of what we're going to focus on. Alright, so here's one that I did in class. This video is going to be taped after the class, so we'll get that out of the light a little bit. So what we're going to do, we're going to have a background. Alright, it's going to be slanted. We're going to have a cup, a box of Cheerios or whatever, a mason jar, and a couple of irregular fruit. Alright, now everything that we've done so far up to this sketch has been pretty uniform. Alright, there hasn't been a lot of organic shapes to things. The leaf probably in the last one is the closest that we've gotten so far, but everything has been pretty structured. Alright, there's squares, there's circles, and then a little bit of changes to that. Well, today we're going to take that concept of squares, circles, and we're going to add to it, and we're going to change it so that we can get a little bit more authentic shapes. Alright, now that being said, the first thing we're going to do is draw a rectangle. Alright, so not so different, I guess. So we're going to put this rectangle here off center, and this will be our cereal box. Now we want to draw through everything with this. We don't necessarily need to try to stop it because that could cause us some issues. Even though we are working in a pretty tight space, we do want to make sure that we have all the parts that we need. Alright, we can always erase later, but we want to make sure we get everything we need right off the bat. Alright, so as you saw in the sketch that we did in class, you have a box, and then right in front of it there's a mason jar. Alright, now with mason jars, alright, lots of different styles, lots of different uses. We're going to first start out with a open mason jar. We will eventually fill it in, alright, and cover it up. Or actually, let's do a little bit of that now. We're going to put a jar, not a jar, I'm sorry. We're going to put a label on the front of this. Now, some of the concepts we want to focus on today is placement. Alright, we're talking lots about composition, and this one's going to work well with our rule of thirds composition. But when you start drawing, especially still lifes and things that are really close in nature like this, you want to think about vertical placement. You want to be like, alright, well this one's higher up on the picture plane than say this object, so by rule this one's probably in front of and that one's probably behind. Alright, so let's go ahead and do that, because a lot of people get this part messed up, is that as they start sketching one object in front of the other, they mess up the bottom of it. Like they really see this, they see that space, they're like, oh, there's space, this is taller than that. Alright, but then where they mess up is that they don't really get this part. They don't get that, this is higher up, alright, this should be a little lower down so that everything works out the way it's supposed to. Alright, so be very cognizant of that as you do this sketch. Don't leave this way up here, because we do want this mason jar in front of the cereal box. Alright, now let's go ahead and throw in an orange or an apple. Let's say it's an apple. I think apple will be better than orange. And then let's give it a buddy. Alright. Now with our apple, as we did with the bowl of fruit a couple of lessons ago, let's go ahead and put that stem in. I do want to make this a little bit more natural looking, so let's get that couple of leaves in there. You may even have a small leaf here. Alright, remember this is your world. Once again, pulling up Bob Rossism. Alright, it's your world. Alright, you add to it. You want something there. Alright, you work to get that in that space. Alright, so I'm going to erase that a little bit. Alright, just to kind of clean it up. I know we're still sketching, but since this is a little bit more organic, I want to make sure that we have every bit of space that we need. Alright, now from here I'm going to move over to the left. Alright, now since this is slanted, alright, we know that we're seeing a lot of the top of this jar, so I want to have that as well over here. So I want to sketch in oval shape for my glass. And then I'm going to bring this down. Once again, go ahead and putting the bottom in, even though this will probably disappear here in a second. Since I'm working back to front, go ahead and put in the information that you need. Don't cheat the design, because what happens if you put the thing in front of it, then you may leave something out. It may be incomplete. Alright, now the next part is the one that I think is the most obtuse, but we're going to throw it in there anyway, and that is the head of cabbage. Alright, so in this still life, you have a box, you have two glasses, you have two apples, but then you have cabbage or you have lettuce here. So that one kind of throws me off a little bit, but hey, no big deal. Alright, now what I want to do is I want to start with this big rounded shape. I really want to take up that whole bottom left hand side. Alright, then because of the space, alright, I want to use the awesome leaves that will be coming off this head of cabbage or this head of lettuce, alright, to really take up some visual space. Alright, now sometimes like this one is going to roll and going to tuck down. Alright, this one's going to kind of come back this way. Alright, but each section, there's this one in the back, there's one of this that's coming out of the back, rolling down the side. This one's in the front, but you can still see that it's, you know, taking up some space that way. Alright, there might be even a secondary one right here. And this is also too very similar to how you would draw a rose, like an opening rose. Alright, all of these are just layers. Now, I see this now. I knew that I was going to have to erase earlier. Alright, and I'm very adamant about putting these things in. So go ahead and get rid of that so you know what you need and don't need. Alright, and I know you're going to sit there and be like, well, that was just wasted time. Alright, not necessarily. Alright, because what if when I was sketching this and my leaves didn't take up all that space, or if I drew this too small, then boom, I would have that info. Alright, so you always want to err on the side of caution when it comes to that, because you don't want to be that person that has a great drawing but then has this little slip up here or there. Alright, so kind of get that sketched out. Now, first thing I want to do, now that I've got pretty much everything kind of blocked in, let's clean up the box. I know it's probably bothering several of you. Get that taken away. Alright, even clean up this part. And last but not least, we'll get inside this. Alright, so that gives me my layout. Now the next thing I do want to go ahead and throw out there is cast shadow. Alright, we really haven't put that in the sketch yet. Alright, always got to honor those cast shadows. Now by putting the cast shadows over here, that automatically tells you that the light source is coming from this side. Alright, so use that information. Alright, if it's happening here, it's going to happen to everything else. Go ahead, look at your piece, analyze where the values would be. Alright, we know that most of this is going to be in shadow. This box, it's a plane as opposed to this being round. So choose a direction, stay with it. Now, if you go in sections like this, alright, no harm, no foul. But I will stress to you that watch your overlaps. So like when I come down over top of what's already there, it will get darker. So be very careful not to make these unwanted striations. You also have shadow here on the glass. So I'm going to do a little one way, a little the next. Now, before I come forward, and this is going to be very very true when we get more into landscape drawing, I want to work from background forward. Alright, so I'm going to come here and I'm really going to put some pressure on my pencil, and I'm going to darken up this background. Now I like when these kind of things come up, especially if it's still life stuff like this that's just circles and squares. I really like to give life to my shadows. Alright, this is a good juxtaposition of something that's just setting still. Alright, so if I can really just throw in some awesome line changes, value changes, alright, even atmosphere, alright, we talk about ambiance, alright, this is a little bit more, I hesitate to say the word festive, but it's there. I threw it out there. Festive. This is some festive shading, Mr. Sturgill. Alright, so at this point I'm really going to get rid of that back line. Alright, I thought I could use it, but I don't need it. I'm going to let it go. So I'm going to come up here to the edge of the mason jar. Alright, but then I'm going to start lightening up. Alright, now this gives me a good kind of value push, a good outlining to these concepts. Alright, I got this really black backdrop for to work in. Now I don't need that much black coming over here, so I'm really just going to lighten that up and let that kind of push out to the edge. Alright, now in stark contrast to that, I don't want to put anything on the table. Alright, so other than some very light, in a lot of regards, cast shadows, I really don't want to put anything else on there because I'm going to have so much value that's going to be developed over the next couple of minutes. Don't really want to put all that into into the table. Alright, now since we've got the values and stuff put in, let's take a couple of minutes and let's make this box have some kind of identity. So I'm going to go and I'm going to make this some Cheerios. Because everybody likes to have cherry flavored O's. And then inside it, there might be a bowl of Cheerios. Now remember, these are flat. Alright, so you're not going to get a whole lot of shading to them. Alright, because these are on a graphic illustration that's on a box. Alright, so you may throw a little bit of heaviness to one side just to pop it out. Alright, you may have, this is the manufacturer's FDA warning and approval, and here's the nutritional information of your Cheerios. Alright, that info goes here. Alright, so we can kind of scribble some of that in. We don't need that detail at this point, because remember, we're still sketching, we're not doing detailed work. Now, we will throw in a little bit more value to this now that we got that kind of sketched in. I'm also going to put a little bit of value here at the bottom, but in doing that I also probably need to push this bottom and then behind the mason jar just a little darker. Alright, now here's where we got to start thinking about value and about not overdoing an area. So what I want to do is I want to make, let's see, I come from a town of Wise, so these are going to be Wise pickles. And I absolutely hate pickles. I don't even know why I pick pickles, but this is going to be a mason jar full of Wise pickles. Alright, now as I go back through and start shaping my mason jar, and I've got Wise pickles on there, alright, I know that just like the cup here, I've got the heart of the shadow, the core of the shadow that's coming through here. I mean, we got shadow already, we put that in early, alright, but the core is going to run this way. Alright, I also have underneath the mason jar lid, there's going to be some cast shadow there, so that's going to darken up. Same way with this, there's going to be edge work to be done there. Alright, now as I come forward, alright, I'm going to have to shape my leaves a little bit. Alright, throw in some cross contouring of the stem. Guess I'm getting a little tired there. I'm killing my pencil. So, got the stem, got the leaves the way I want them. Alright, now I'm going to start, as I've done in the past, I'm going to kind of dig out the info. So there I'm digging, I'm just kind of sculpting, throwing the cast shadow across. This could also be a good time if you have your blending snub handy to blend some of these colors in. Me, I'm a scribbler. I'm scribbling stuff. Alright, so last couple things on this side. Alright, you do have this box blocking, so I'm probably going to have some cast shadow in here, and that's a good contrast to kind of help frame my Wise pickles. Alright, also kind of helps us throw a little bit of attention to our Cheerios up there. This glass, not a whole lot more that I'm going to do to it other than inside the glass. Alright, I'm going to put a little shading, alright, that's inside the rim. Alright, a little darker on one side, lighter on the other. And then the rest of the time we're going to spend developing this cabbage, lettuce, whatever. Alright, so we've got everything kind of fleshed out. We did that earlier. Alright, so what I want to do is I really want to start focusing on how we can get this organic piece to tuck underneath, flow out. So basically the whole concept of projections and protrusions. How do I get this info to look like it's going down? How do I get this to project out, but also to shape? Alright, so the first thing I did is I laid in some of my uppers, or I'm going to call them uppers. They could be straight, alright, but they're kind of pushing down, alright, so they're more of a vertical shape. Alright, but out of that, I'm going to start modeling the value as it comes out of the leaf. Alright, now you see I put that dark striation in right there, alright, earlier. So what I want to do is I want to keep mimicking that, alright, and that's really where my shadow of that is. That's where the deepest recesses are. So then I'll start pulling out of that and then back around. Now I do want to have an edge here. I want the leaf does have space. It has some substance to it. So I'm going to do that there. So see how it just rounds and tucks underneath. Alright. Now, what is this? What is that part right there? Alright. This is when you look at a cabbage or lettuce, they have this like where things fold and they kind of make this natural bend, alright, in there. So that's what this is. I'm going to take a little bit of cross contour concept. I'm going to do that so it looks like it's projecting off of the original sphere, and then I'm going to start developing this inner part. Alright, now some people will wait to do the inner part last as they develop around this. I'm going to develop it first. Alright, and that's why we did a lot of the sculpting and gestural lines at the beginning, so that I don't have to go back and erase or fix or whatever. I've already got my placements of everything, so I don't need to second guess myself, or I don't need to go and be like, oh, I need more here. Alright, so I've got this shaped. I'm rounded here. I've got this kind of bulging out. Notice the light source is coming this way, so really the darker is on the back side. It lines up here. Alright, now as it turns, you may get a little extra value right there. Alright, I'm not going to put much more in that section, so let's talk this one. Alright, now this part, you're like, oh my gosh, Sturgeon, what are you doing? This part here, when the light comes this way, alright, this is turned directly away from it. Alright, that's not seeing any light whatsoever there. Alright, now the top of it is, and there's some reflected light around here. Alright, so we can go ahead and shade that, but I really want to make sure that section right there gets nice and dark. Alright, it gives us a little bit of what's called chiaroscuro, so that the value comes out of that. Alright, so there's a dark heavy here, and then this gets pulled out of that darkness. Alright, now I'm going to throw in a little bit extra over here. Alright, maybe there's a wrinkle in that leaf. Alright, now with that same dark idea, I'm really going to push that out here. Alright, because that's the bottom part. It's really tucking underneath. Same way with this. Even though it's breaking my border and going off the page. Alright, this part, super heavy. That's not seeing light whatsoever, at least according to the light source I have throughout the piece. Alright, so really dark, and then the rest of it at this point is just shaping. It's shaping the bag just like we did here. So if you want this to roll, alright, if you want it to be kind of swooping out, alright, this is basically where you create that feel. So sculpt, allow the pencil to develop around the piece, and that's basically it. Alright, so today we worked on just changing up a few things, not necessarily going in and doing lots of new stuff. I mean, we boxed things in, we developed contours, we went through, we identified where the highlight, or the light source is, and that depicted or dictated where we were going to go with the shadowing. Alright, and then from there we basically spent more time working on some organic shading. Alright, how do I get this to protrude? How do we get it to project? Alright, and really just how do we create value on something that's not regularly shaped. Alright, so thank you for sticking around for part 4. Please add 2 if you want to design your cup, or if you need more value. Free fill to change pencils. Add textures where need be, but thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope that you have a great afternoon, and keep sketching, peeps. Alright, I'll see you next class.